What is up, everybody? Nate Powers here with the Stix&Crits podcast, and I'm joined by my strange, odd friend, Mr. Thomas King. Did that quench your thirst, sir?
Kind of.
You have to obey your thirst, right?
No, I don't obey shit.
We got a special show for you guys today.
Yes, we do.
What are we talking about today, Tommy boy?
I forgot.
You forgot already?
No. We're
I
doing...
was about to say, about to be really disappointed.
Oh, no. Terrifying.
Yeah. We got a high standard here we're trying to set, okay?
Today, actually, we got story versus mechanics for tabletop and video games.
Well, today we're going to just do the tabletops, and it's going to be a little different these next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
This week we're going to do tabletop, and then next week we're going to do story versus mechanics in video games. So it's probably going to be about, the same length of the show, just, we're not splitting the topics.
Yeah, special topics today, guys. We have to break it up.
And because we're not going to have a commercial break, we might as well go ahead and talk about our lovely sponsors.
RollForItDice.com.
You heard it here first.
That's right.
RollForItDice.com is a lovely subsidiary out of New Jersey, and
They're a subsidiary of New Jersey?
Well, I feel like subsidiary makes it sound more official.
I think they're a subsidiary
than lovely
the
couple
state of New Jersey.
The lovely couple of people who send you dice every month. You just go onto their Patreon page, choose the tier that you would like for the product you would want per month, and they send it right to your door. No interacting with human beings.
No,
No,
it's great.
It's pretty great.
It's the best part. And you get good dice. You get Legos.
And it's always random, so it's like
Minis.
little present to yourself every month.
Yeah, it's great.
What are we even talking about here? Like, what's the big beef with story and
All
mechanics?
right, so there's always been this kind of I'm always hitting these things.
It's true.
There's always been this divide in how people want to play, whether it's D&D or any other tabletop game or any video game. It always comes up story versus mechanics. What's better? What's gonna keep your attention longer?
What's more important?
Yes, what's more valuable? And
Well, those people are stupid because everybody knows.
well, can I finish my sentence?
Okay. Yes.
Jesus.
I'll hold it for the topic discussion.
Christ.
I'm just amped. I'm excited.
Yeah, for no reason. It's fine.
It's a good thing to talk about.
Is it?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. It's like debating philosophy of life.
What?
The owner of Nintendo said that video games will never leave our culture. They're a mainstay.
Yeah.
They're like art, music, all that stuff. And so why wouldn't it be important to talk about what the most
I know it's
important
absolutely
facets of
important.
this?
I just need to break your balls a little on the podcast, so that's all.
Yeah, and I'm just really good at avoiding the ball breaking.
Right, that's why you just went on a whole diatribe right there, right?
A diatribe?
Yeah.
What the fuck is a diatribe? Yo, you and these phrases are killing me. You Northerners are a little strange.
Anyways, Jesus.
Derailing everything.
So far off, very quickly. Anyways, story versus mechanics is a topic of conversation all the time. I know there's people that any of us could talk to, and they'll easily say mechanics for video games and tabletop are the more important aspect. And then you'll find others that disagree, like myself, that are more, I think story enhances the experience more. Now, we do understand that everybody's tastes are different, and we're kind of here just describing the pros and cons of each.
Yeah, having too much of too strong mechanics or too strict mechanics versus having too loose mechanics, or whether you care about implementing any story in your game or not. Certainly, some games you don't really need story, but again, it depends on the group and what you're building and the experience you're trying to cater, all that stuff.
Right. So this is like a case by case basis. But
yes, and a lot of preference.
Yeah, definitely. It's not going to be some bullshit.
You know what's bullshit?
This is going to be straight up where we're going to be playing devil's advocate basically the whole time and figuring, kind of just presenting everything. Because I thought this would be a very interesting topic to discuss for a while.
Yeah, definitely.
And you're so excited about the D&D version of this, the D&D side of this, that we're recording out of order and we're recording the tabletop for the first time.
Well,
first.
To be fair, tabletop is my specialty.
That's true.
And I feel like this is where the arguments are the strongest for both sides. For video games, there are a lot of video games that have no story in them, and they're still really good games.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I feel like just because of the nature of video games and the nature of tabletop games, story is so much more prevalent. Or let me rephrase that. It's so much more intricate to the structure of tabletop games that the discussion is going to be, I think, a little funner.
Okay.
Just because of how involved it has to be.
We'll see where this goes.
Yeah.
We'll see where this goes.
Tom, you already said that you are more of a story over mechanics kind of guy.
Absolutely.
I'm very much an even kilter kind of guy.
Okay.
I do like it to be very, very mixed. I think too much story isn't not fun, but I think it doesn't scratch that D&D itch, at least for me anyway.
Okay.
I like getting in there, kicking down the door, falling into traps, killing monsters, resurrecting your allies. I like doing the shit.
Dungeon diving.
Yeah, well, not just dungeon diving, but actually
yeah.
doing the shit, like having to make the roll, having to spec my skills right to fit the character profile I'm trying to create. All that stuff, like just the whole building process and the mechanical usage. I'm really into that. And if I don't have that, I feel like I'm not playing D&D or whatever system I'm playing. But if there's no flavor or story to go along with all that, then like what's the point? We might as well just be rolling with, just blank sheets of paper with numbers written on them.
Right.
And then you're just an algorithm creator. Like that's not fun either.
Yeah, that's not how it should be.
But if I did have to choose whether one or the other didn't happen in a session, I would probably choose to have the mechanics over
Yeah, you're all about them rules,
story. Well, and if I want to, just do some no rules off the cuff, role playing. I mean, I would just do improv acting, or I'll do something else because it's not that's not what the game is to me. The game is both of them together.
Right, of course. So yeah, we're not gonna get past that point. You need both for it to be D&D, obviously, and they're both extremely important in very different ways.
But I think you can have D&D without story, not necessarily flavor, but I think you can have D&D without story, but you can't have D&D without the mechanics of D&D, without rolling the D20. Gary Gygax would roll over in his grave if he saw people play. Actually, he wouldn't. He'd be like, do whatever you want.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the spirit of it, isn't it?
Yes, that is the spirit of it.
Well then.
But some people's
Case closed.
Some people's opinions are just wrong.
I don't think that's how that is.
But I also think that you can use mechanics as something to increase story too, and I was showing you a few examples of that. Just looking at the character sheets.
Yeah, that's wild. So the 3.5 character sheets, so involved. There's so many things going on there, and like there must have been checks every 3 seconds.
Well, it's not checks every 3 seconds, but it's a
lot more often.
It's not even more often. It's more specializing. So instead of making an acrobatics check, you have to be good at balancing and tumbling and all the different aspects that are just lumped up into 5th edition acrobatics. So it just lets you create more caveat for your character.
Okay.
More combinations that you can pick out and really flesh out your character's specialties. Whereas in 5th edition, a bard can just do everything athletic or acrobatic. You know what I mean? And that's not bad either, but everybody knows that they dumb down the rules for 5th edition to get new players.
Yeah, it's a mainstream thing, and I mean, I kind of don't blame them because we've had this discussion before too. I think they're going to turn it up in the next edition. Since they got more people playing, they'll probably get a little more into it. And
there's rumblings that 5.5 is just around the corner within the next year.
It's exciting.
I mean, yes, and so I think once they introduce that, they'll fix a lot of the broken rules and they'll add a bunch of new stuff. And I think they'll add a lot more optional rules is what they're going to do.
Okay.
To appease the older players, but still keep that whole friendly newcomer style that they're going for. Yeah. And there are aspects I like about them lumping all the skills together too. I don't want to necessarily always have to want to spread my skill points out so drastically. Them changing it to just being proficient or not proficient and having the scaling proficiency bonus was just a way for them to take skill points out of it. But the whole where do I put these skill points? Do I get, nothing and anything else, but I'll have a plus 15 in my Arcana, or you can get
ridiculous.
You can get crazy bonuses and stuff to really show how good you are at certain things. So
you fucking derailer.
This isn't a derailer. This is all part of it.
He's derailing. It's fine.
I just argued why a mechanic is better for story. Top that.
Oh, was that was the whole argument?
That was just well, it's not an argument, a point I was making.
Oh, okay. Well, listen. Where do I begin? God. So, here's my one overarching theme for why I think story is better than mechanics.
Wow, just straight up better.
Yes, this is the biggest main point I'm gonna make, and everything else is gonna encompass it. Better is probably not the best word to use, but I'll keep it until for now.
Until you realize your argument's invalid.
That's not happening. I think sometimes mechanics can get in the way. The rules can be a little clunky, or you have even something as simple as a question about a rule, and that can kind of break the immersion of the story. So that can kind of pull you back. I always feel like it'll pull you back into your own world, to where you're playing the PC and your character, and I feel like that rules lawyering shit that happens a lot, that just takes you out. So that's number one. I feel like they could just be so clunky and so just in the way sometimes.
You solve that problem by just practicing and learning the rules as a DM anyway, right? Like the dungeon master needs to be just the full-on only referee. And if the players have something like written down on their character sheet, or they bring something up, the DM just has to be really good at making those snap decisions, whether they are going to break the rules or bend the rules or disregard whatever the rule is and just make the ruling for whatever's best for the story. That comes with DM in practice.
Right. And usually, wouldn't that kind of decision be made between the story? Like,
you're choosing story over mechanics at that point.
At that point, right.
And I think that's just going along with the whole it's best with both.
Right. Okay.
You know what I mean? Like you definitely, it's D&D. It's fucking imaginary. Like it's a game, and like you can play.
What do you mean it's imaginary?
This isn't real. It's all simulation, man.
I bought a whole new suit of armor.
The cake is a lie.
And daggers.
Those daggers they're in the mail. Amazon's shipping them really fast.
Yes. I'm still hyped about the dagger.
But yeah, like you have to have both, and you have to be able to balance both. But both are definitely important, and both have their cons. So what are some more cons to
mechanics?
To mechanics, yeah.
Well, I don't want to be negative. I don't want to be negative Nancy.
Well, no, because I can point out what's negative about the story if you want. If you want to.
Yeah, go ahead. Us
pick sides.
Please do. Yes.
No, I asked you first. Ladies first.
I just did a negative.
Age before beauty.
Where are the ladies?
Like I said, it depends on your group. But if I want to sit down and I want to kick down the door and I want to kill a bunch of monsters, but the DM wants to tell a regaling tale of all the lore he's written down.
A regaling tale.
Yeah. Regale a tale. That's what I should.
Regale a tale?
Yes.
Is that okay? I don't think that's right either.
But no, like it can be boring, right? Like you and that's just the group not clicking or them not communicating with what everybody wants. But that's a way that story can get in a way.
So I mean, I think again, a lot of that stuff, all of this is going to encompass just like personal preference.
Yeah.
And like your group at the table. But usually when a DM's really into the story, or about keeping the players on track, or giving them agency, anything, he or she is going to be upfront about what they really want to do.
Well, you would hope.
Yeah, like I mean,
I've definitely played with DMs and players who are not forthcoming with information, and then something comes up and they're just like, oh well, that's not how I want it, that's not how I imagined it going. Or I don't like that ruling that you made. I wanted to like have this epic thing happen for my story. And like, kind of the bittersweetness of this game is the die decide the destiny of your characters, not you.
Not you.
You know what I mean?
I mean, you have some kind of control, but not.
You can, as the wonderful Matt Mercer says, you can certainly try.
Yeah, that's it.
And
that's
I think that phrase should be fucking stapled to the front of every book. Dungeons and Dragons Player's Handbook Core Rules 3.5. You may certainly try.
Yeah, that's pretty much the best thing you could hope for.
Yeah, and I think if you live with that mentality in your games, you're going to be able to figure out what the right calls are to make. Mm-hmm. Whether you bend or break the rule, forget the rule, or enforce the rule harshly.
For mechanic-wise, like I got slow and clunky already.
Sometimes. That is a very glaring flaw.
What, the clunkiness?
Yeah, and like if you're dungeon, and I get it's hard to not know all the rules, but like if you don't, it's gonna slow down your game, and it's not as thrilling of an experience. Because like you said, you're not stuck in the story; you keep getting broken out of it.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, no immersion, and you lose that sense, which I always like to feel connected to my character and to the group and their characters. and how it's going down. So here's something on the opposite, almost kind of opposite side of this, which is where a lot of DMs, like we stated before, they'll try to make the story, be the front, and they'll sacrifice parts of the mechanics or whatever else is happening in the game for story. So there's a lot of times where I feel like the mechanics are just straight up in the way. So you have, let's say you have a roll. Some character's about to get an item, and you guys need that item. Otherwise, the world is fucking doomed. And he rolls a nat 1 to pick this thing up and gets crushed by a fucking stone.
Right.
And
rocks fall, everyone dies.
Right, exactly.
Very
Your favorite
common
saying.
Very common theme.
So, like, now, my thought process is a lot of DMs would probably fudge that roll themselves just because of the story, because then you think about...
Right, if they rolled it behind the screen.
Right.
But if a player's rolling it at the table, you kind of can't fudge it.
No, but I'm saying if the DM took control.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That would be... For me, that's where... I mean, I understand it's part of the story. The character dies. You guys are all fucked now, and it's over. But to me, you work all this time, right? You kill all these monsters. You find out this information. You go through these hardships as a group together, and then you fall short.
Yeah,
and
but
that's where the mechanics, and it's not even. I don't know if it's necessarily the mechanics. I feel like that's more of the rolling. So.
Oh well, yeah, it is the mechanic because that's how you're determining the outcome.
Right, and they're getting completely in the way of story, almost to the point where the story is now done.
Well, see, here's a fundamental. This is like a fundamental belief for how you think story should progress, right? Either you want story to progress randomly by the die of the roll and have the roll of the die.
There you go.
The die of the roll. So
that
either
should be a shirt. You should make that a T-shirt.
So either you want the story to progress by the randomness of the die rolls, or you want the story to take the path that you have predetermined.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
So if everybody's on board with that, then do your thing. But like, the rules of D&D and D20 systems is the whole. Is built on that whole factor that you roll your fate. Exactly. It's not I'm choosing my story, my ending. If you want to do that, just write movies or a book or something, and you can have all the creative freedom you want.
That's true.
You're not confined by the mechanics. But that's the whole magic of this game is even though it is all limitless, you have to figure it out within the confines of this game.
Of the game. Or.
And no, but I would agree. Like if we're at the end of this epic campaign and I'm the DM, I'm with my players, all my friends are having fun, and if I feel like it's better for us as a group having fun that I fudge that die roll and I break the rules and I do whatever you're going to call it, cheating, whatever, and I make it to where the character lives or the character dies, whichever way I choose.
Right.
If it's the best for the story and it's best for the fun, then that's what you do.
That's what I say.
But if you're a munchkin like me, you kill that PC every goddamn time. Every time DMs look at me in the eyes.
No, don't look at
You don't go after your players, but if they put themselves in a position where a die roll decides their life or death, you follow that die roll every time. Don't break it.
That's valid. I have to agree with that. Even though I brought up the point, I have to agree with that.
Yeah, you know me. I have my PCs die a lot because I put them in very dangerous situations.
Stupid decisions.
And luck doesn't always go my way. But I love that my character dies in an epic way.
Well, I mean,
because it's so great for the story. Okay, so here's an example. The first time we went through Mines of Phandalin,
oh god,
I thought it would be clever. Yeah. At least my wizard did.
Definitely clever.
To cause a distraction and have the hard-hitting people flank the edges. Well, I died instantly in the first round of combat.
Yep.
But it was so hilarious that I would not have wished it any other way.
All I have to say to that whole scenario is when you set your PC up for failure, it doesn't take much bad luck.
No, it doesn't. But, I was rolling the dice there. I didn't think they would
I'm
fire
a wizard
instantly on me.
I'm a wizard, and I'm going to stay
Hey,
right
my
in the
AC
middle,
was a 15. That's pretty good for a wizard.
where all the archers can destroy me.
Also, I didn't know there were other ones hiding.
They were all archers, too, which was the worst part.
Anyway, but, on that same side, you can... you can just completely disregard that style of play.
Yeah.
And really just weave the story however you want. I also come from like a kind of an old school style of play. I think, strict enforcing of the rules, and also like trying to cleverly like manipulate the rules to work in your advantage to do cool things is really fun. Like whoever figured out how to do Smite Assassination with Rogue Paladin in 5th edition is a fucking genius. I mean like it takes a serious, rules junkie to really like go through and like figure out how to break the game and make stupid, fun, awesome characters.
Oh, and we're gonna see
rules.
way more when that competitive D&D shit kicks up.
Yeah, that's and that's gonna be like no story, all mechanics.
Yeah,
and it's gonna be a
it's like
meta nightmare.
Very very light story.
There's not gonna be.
It's
any
probably
story.
like hi, do you guys want to save us?
No, it's probably like welcome to the arena in the Forgotten Realms. Fight.
Kill.
Yeah, exactly.
Murder. I feel like obviously playing D&D or any tabletop game needs a story. It takes the game up another level, as opposed to sitting at a table with your friends, rolling dice, seeing what happens. You get this extra layer on top, which makes it almost like it's interactive storytelling. So it'll bring anything from your childhood, your adulthood into this, and it'll still make it as though you're deciding everything. And
well, that is what you're doing. That's the whole point of it.
Right. But on top of it, you're creating this grand story for you and your comrades to go around. It's like a higher level of a book.
It is. It's a choose your own adventure on steroids with.
But not like,
really
hey,
cool
go
things.
to page 64 and then boop and go
It's
back
just
to page 32.
You're pulling it out of your notes that are all on page 1.
Yeah, there's like one page.
Yeah, it depends.
Or D&D Beyond.
Yeah. Or D&D Beyond.
But yeah, so the story element is always great because you go through an experience together.
Mm-hmm.
You guys grow through this. Your characters grow through it. And like I said, interactive movie, interactive book. Like it's almost on that kind of plane. You're writing, you're basically, like, now that I actually think about it for a second, you're basically writing a script for something.
Yeah, no, that's
like,
the whole, that's like
collective, like
collective
shop.
story. It's collaborative storytelling.
Yeah.
And while I agree that all of those things are amazing,
hello.
There is also something perfectly great about sitting down at the table and the DM just says, all right, you've summoned a Tarask. You're all level 20. Any class or race combination you want.
Oh, that's awesome.
And you have 2 weeks to prepare for this Tarask fight. Go.
Okay.
That whole puzzle with no other story is like one of the funnest kinds of sessions that you can have. Just sitting down and giving the players a scenario. Like, you like chess, right?
Of course.
How about Stratego?
Yeah.
How about Monopoly?
Oh my God, Stratego. Yep.
Yeah. How about any other strategy game?
Sure.
Great games with no story.
All of it.
Right? D&D is like that, but set in a fantasy setting that just makes it way fucking cooler. Oh, I'm shooting fire out of my hands. And there is role-playing in that, but it's not necessarily story. Like,
right.
Like, you can have some silly little story, and there's always going to be some little element of it. You can't remove story completely. Like, you can remove mechanics. But I would argue that it's not D&D without any of those rules. Or just having the opportunity to sit down and break the game like that.
Yeah, breaking the game is really fun, though.
It's really fun. You guys should try it. Let your munchkins run wild and just be a munchkin too.
What was that one thing we argued about that one time? So I'm pretty sure it was the Smite rule, I think. That's what we argued about.
Yeah, we argued for like a day over how Smite worked. But that was for how we were rolling the dice, not whether like things would get doubled or not. It was like, okay, so I'm a Magic player, and so everything has an order of operations. First in, first out. There's a stack. You have to layer your abilities. You have to you have to call where things are going on the stack. And so we were arguing over like the wording of it, when you roll the particular dice. And it was really like a pointless argument. Like
it definitely was fucking pointless.
It was really pointless because both of our arguments led to the same conclusion, but we were arguing how to get there.
Yeah, that's it. That's all it was.
And honestly, having conversations like that is a really great aspect of like mechanics.
But we could have been playing for a day instead of arguing.
We weren't playing though. That was after game. We were arguing that. We had like a 5-minute downtime argument, and then we moved on, which probably isn't necessary, but
it was fine.
It was fun. We got through it and
mechanics
and obliterated. But yeah,
this is the goddamn mechanics I'm talking about. They're just getting in the way. Do
Well,
away with all of them.
that was bad DMs and player knowledge of the rules.
That was kind of.
What another really fun thing about mechanics is you can cater the rules to kind of like fit your DM style, like with house rules.
Yeah. Okay.
You can, oh well, in my game, advantage doesn't give, or flanking doesn't give advantage. Flanking gives you a +2 bonus.
Oh, that's just bullshit.
It's not. It's not bullshit.
But
you tweak it to make the you ultimately tweak it for mechanical and story purposes, because like if that, let's use that example. If flanking only gives you a +2 instead of advantage, you're talking about only getting a 10% increase in being able to complete the task, whereas with advantage you're getting a 50 or 100%, whatever the math breaks down to.
It's definitely higher than 10.
You're getting a 100% chance better because you're rolling a whole second die to get the roll. And that level of intensity and severity is going to add to the suspense of the game, which is good for story, and that's from a mechanic. Or vice versa.
So that's a benefit to both.
That would be a benefit to both. Or vice versa, you could just argue that adding this +2 is just going to make it more challenging, and you have to strategize differently. Or more accurately, because
I'd still argue you're getting a +2. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, you're lucky that you get any bonus. To be honest, the only reason you're getting one is because it's in the rule book, and you can argue against me with it. So that's another thing is the rules. The rules are like a contract between the players and the DM on this is the fair way to run this game, to where people don't feel like they're being like trampled all over. Not taking advantage of, but like maybe being picked on, or having some like self-righteous DM lording over the players with his really crazy story, and they're not having any say. The rules keep them in check. It's almost like our Constitution. This is the Constitution.
All right, take it easy.
No, listen. Think of this. Think of the gaming party as the United States.
Okay.
And the D&D handbook, the rules of the game, is the Constitution that they all have to abide by. And if you break one of those rules, something happens.
Well, nothing usually happens.
No, obviously, because it's not real. But if
obviously, because it's not real.
And you can also keep equating this comparison, because thou shalt not steal. But if I pick up a $20 bill off the street, I shouldn't go to jail. That's stealing technically.
That's not stealing.
It's not mine.
You found it.
But you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, finders keepers rule. I got it.
Hey, that's a thing in Texas. Anyway.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Wow. Continue.
Within like a week or so.
Because I'll have 37 questions about this. Continue.
But yeah, so that's what's cool about it is it gives all the players like kind of like confines to stay within, so that nobody's like pissing anybody off or hurting anybody's feelings. But also on the reverse side.
Oh, okay.
Of that. Like what you were saying, rules being clunky, rules can also be lorded over people. Like,
of course.
Well, I'm not going to let you do that because that's against the rules.
Right.
And then that's just going to keep coming back to, you have to make sure that you have a lot of experience, you're learning the rules, and you're making sure everybody's having fun.
Well, that's more of like, your DM's got to not be a dick for that to happen. Like, talk about having a vindictive DM, Jesus.
Yeah. And also you can create the misconception of being a vindictive DM. Just by trying to like break rules or like use rules for story.
I don't.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like in one of the games that we used to play in together, we were in this fight and we were like trapped in this small room, and the DM was cramming multiple enemies in a single 5-foot square, breaking the rules to kind of like give us that sense of like overwhelming odds and like we can't get out and we're trapped kind of thing. And I got what they were going for, but me as someone who's like playing the game and I'm following the rules, in my mind, I'm like, oh, this guy's breaking the rules because he wants to kill us. That's where my mind went first. And obviously, that's not what he was trying to do. He was just trying to give us that sense of, overwhelming odds.
Yeah, that we beat.
That we did beat, yeah. But, it still was frustrating as a player because the whole time I'm like, why is he doing that? This is super annoying to me. But
to me.
But afterwards, I thought about it. I was like, okay, that's it's okay. And it didn't keep happening. It was like a one-time thing.
Yeah.
Also, so
see, on the flip side, on my side, while you're thinking about the rules, I'm thinking about how tense this battle is.
Oh, it was. I was definitely feeling how tense it was.
I'm like, oh shit, this is gonna make for a great story. Like when we finally pull out of this, and then I thought, are we gonna pull out of this? Because people were going down every turn,
and actually my character died in that, and I got a free resurrection out of it, and that was cool. So he was breaking the rules on both sides for the story, and when that happened, I wasn't mad that he resurrected me. I liked that he did that because it was really cool. But I was a little mad that I didn't get to make another character because I like making characters. That was the only thing. Like I just love you know how it is when you're making you're like
you're
much
great
expectations.
You love any aspect of making a character, a new character especially, because you get excited about.
Yeah, which is kind of funny because that's just all rules and numbers.
Yeah, that's weird, right?
Yeah.
But hey, I thought that was a missed opportunity when he did that. I thought there could have been a skills challenge.
A skill challenge for what?
For
death? The resurrection?
Yeah.
He did. He made me roll a survival check.
Well, for you, I'm saying that should have been like a full party almost.
Like a quest?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would. Well, usually that's how we used to do it back in the day. If your party member died and you were under a certain level, if you recovered the body, you would have to appease a temple that had a cleric of a higher enough level to actually cast restoration.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
And they would have to be of the high enough level to cast a spell that isn't like Revivify or something that you can only do within a minute or whatever.
Yeah, then you have your magic users aiding.
Yeah,
doing some
all
other
kinds
type
of stuff.
Ritual. Yeah, it's dope.
I like
story, man.
I like how
Oh, that's a good one actually. You know what? That's a good way in how story you can, with the use of kind of forwarding a story or creating another story, you can kind of just cut out mechanics and just make it
well, no,
better.
that's using the lack of like a mechanical advantage in the system and creating a story element out of it. It's not necessarily like taking the mechanics away. The mechanics are still there. They can't revive him without this spell.
Right.
The DM is just giving them that resource
to
for the betterment of the story.
Okay.
He's using the mechanics to progress the story.
Okay.
By giving, I'm giving you a temporary 10th level cleric that can resurrect him.
I'll give you that one. That's fine. This handbook is so much cooler.
Oh yeah, no, 3.5 is awesome. Everything about it. I love the art style, the mechanics. The way I like the way they do. I like the way that race relations were in 3.5 more than 5th edition.
Really?
Yeah, and I see why, and they obviously did it because, again, to be more accessible by everybody else. But it just didn't have that severity that it did in 3.5 anymore. For instance, half orcs is the major change. You weren't a half orc unless your mom was a victim of rape.
Shit!
And that's
so
why,
orcs
orcs were not civilized at all, and people didn't really mix with
the majority of fantasy.
Well, it was just a more realistic approach. These are monsters that pillage and plunder.
Well, I feel like that's how it is in most of the fantasy, right? Orcs are kind of seen that way, except the only thing really is Elder Scrolls.
Yeah, Elder Scrolls and Dungeons and Dragons.
Where they kind of now,
edition.
yeah, sure.
But how, there are a lot of stories of half orcs in 3.5 lore, Forgotten Realms and Dragonlance and Greyhawk. It's all half orcs overcoming their orc heritage and being great humans or elves or whatever their other mix is.
Okay.
And that element's still kind of in 5th edition, but not as much. It's more of orcs are a little more civilized, and there's the potential there for them to have that intellectual interaction. But in a lot of previous editions, they're just mindless, crazy monsters.
Yeah, they're just brooding idiots.
Yeah.
Awesome. Fucking orcs are great.
Yeah. Also, gnomes are way cooler in 3.5.
Why?
Because they're not in 5th edition, they have them kind of how World of Warcraft has them. They're kind of whimsical and quippy.
Oh.
And 3.5, they're little fuckers. They're almost because they're fae or in
gremlins
origin.
And shit.
They're more like how England myth fairies are. They're a little cynical, and there's obviously different
a little
alignments.
evil.
Not a little evil, just a little chaotic.
Bad streak to them.
Yeah, and they're really intelligent. It's just a different air about it.
They're the bad boys.
It's darker. It's a little darker. It's darker fantasy.
That's cool.
And I just like that realism because I think it adds to the immersion.
Yeah, that's pretty dope. I want to play 3.5 one day.
3.5 is really fun. I mean, Pathfinder is the way to go.
Oh yeah, you're saying it's almost the same thing.
It's almost the same thing, and with 2nd edition out,
okay.
They're trying to be innovative in the D20 system game, with changing death saves and all the actions that they've added, and everything's a feat, and level of spells, all the changes. They're just trying to innovate as a gaming company, but the base of it is still kind of there. They're just trying to strike out on their own. But 3.5 is really fun. I also recommend that a lot of players play Advanced D&D because you think these rules are crazy. Like the rules for Advanced D&D is a lot more math. It's a lot more algorithms. But yeah, overall, I think story and rules are both equally important.
Mm-hmm.
I think it behooves players to make an effort to try to immerse themselves into both facets of it. That way they can have the fullest experience.
Yeah, I agree. They're both very important. They're both very fun.
Yeah.
As I could tell everyone, because I was not with the heavy mechanics, but then once we played Pathfinder 2, I was super into it.
Mm-hmm.
Still think it's a little too heavy on the stuff, but neither here nor there.
Yeah, that's always a learning curve kind of thing.
Yeah, and sometimes it's good with more mechanics, sometimes it's not.
Yeah, and it really just comes down to how experienced you are as a player and how good you are at reading the table.
Yeah.
What call to make as the DM and as the player. Like, you know, certain things like you could like it's like, you know, which hill are you going to choose to die on? Does it really matter does it really well like no, but like I'm saying, does it really matter that you get that +1 bonus or +2 bonus or advantage on this roll because you want the cool story thing to happen? I feel like yeah, you know what I mean? Like
it's like take it or leave it either way.
Yeah.
Really.
But yeah, there's nothing better than getting in there and weaving a great tale for everybody to talk about later. Just like there's nothing better than getting in there and tinkering with multi-classing and building an orc slaying, dragon destroying machine.
Yes.
We all love all those things.
Just like my rogue's gonna be.
Yo, your rogue is gonna be gross. I'm really excited, and I really wish I could find a multi-class for my wizard because that would be great.
Make one. It's fine.
Well, I was thinking maybe rogue.
Because my deck, wizard rogue?
Yeah, my like arcane trickster, so I can like pick locks with the.
I guess, but then we'll have like 2 of the same on the opposite side of the spectrum. You know what I mean? If we kind of go that way.
Yeah, but we would be like roguey as fuck.
That's true.
Yeah, we'd be getting in everywhere.
That's interesting.
Yeah, but anyway, that's a topic for another day, guys. Thank you so much for watching the Stix&Crits podcast. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Share this link out to all your friends. All the links for everything we talked about, including our sponsor, will be in the doobly-doo down below.
Down below, kids.
And remember, stay nerdy.
Also, quick thing. We're going to actually start planning for a Q&A.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I actually got a couple requests for it.
Yeah, so we don't get many comments.
No.
In fact, I think we've only gotten 4 ever.
No, I think it's more than that.
But if you want to interact with us and you're interested in hearing what we have to say about your questions, definitely send them in the comments. We'll collect them, and when we get enough of them, we'll answer them.
Yeah, we'll start doing it after a little while.
Yeah, we got to collect, obviously, but
there's like 4 of you that really want this.
Yeah, and we should definitely make this an interactive process.
Absolutely.
But yeah, until next time, guys. We'll see you next week with video games, story versus mechanics.
Yes. Roll 4, baby.
What is it? I'm not gonna lie.
16. Not bad.